everyone, thanks for joining me over on my second channel. Over here, I just kind of want to give you little glimpses into my life, have a little bit more fun over here, not have to feel like it has to be as formal as my main channel, and be able to share some of my thoughts that I want to get out there, but don't necessarily feel on brand for my main channel. And so that's why this one exists. If you're interested in any of that, consider clicking that subscribe button. But so anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is the idea that I am biased. I am incredibly biased, and I think we all are. And so sometimes I get comments from people like on some of my reviews, biased review, biased opinion on my rankings, like biased ranking. And I always find all of that so odd because at no point in time have I claimed to not be biased. And for that matter, I think everyone else is biased. Some people are more open about it. Some people are a little bit better at kind of tampering it, or like dampering it and lessening it a little bit. But we're all biased. We all go into a movie. We all go into an experience. We all filter the world that happens around us through our past experiences, our knowledge base that we already have, the feelings that we are having on a given day, just unperceived cognitive biases that we all have on any given day. And we don't even know all the things that are affecting the way that we feel about any given thing that happens at any given moment in time. And so for me, just the way I'm wired, some people I think are a little bit more designed to try and detach themselves from their opinions and try and give an objective opinion and, you know, watch a movie and evaluate it based off of these criteria separate from themselves and remove as much of them out of it as is possible. And I'm just not wired that way. I fully want to acknowledge I am biased. I want to fully tell you those biases. I want to tell you the context under which I watched a movie and just kind of put all of that out there. And I don't even think that's a bad thing. Like that's even the way I talk about movies, where I try and give a context at the beginning of it. I'll tell little stories kind of going into things. The one that most comes to mind on this one is I did my heroes ranking for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I have Drax the Destroyer ridiculously high on the list. Of course, he should not be in the top 5 by any objective means or anything like that. Character development, however you want to do it, it doesn't make a lot of sense that he's in the top 5. He's in my top 5. At least he was when I did the video. And I start off like, I know I'm totally biased in this, and kind of go off and explain this whole story about back in, it was at 2014 when it came out. I had 4 interns. And I took my interns to go see that movie the day before we left to go on a trip to the Navajo Nation to go dig outhouses and build the food pantry in the community and help build all sorts of stuff. Like very cool experience. I took a group of like 20 teenagers, 10 adults, and my 4 interns on this trip. And the day before we left, we saw Guardians of the Galaxy. And so then we went from watching this movie that has all these quotable lines, that was just such a pleasant surprise for Drax to be so funny in that movie. And then the whole week, I was quoting Drax the Destroyer to my interns, and even infamously called one of my interns a green whore, which I thought was hilarious and still think is pretty hilarious. She didn't think it was as funny as I did. And she wasn't offended, nothing like that. But she sometimes took my jokes a little bit too seriously, even though she knew better and knows better than that. So, for me, that movie just has a very special place in my heart. Drax's humor, very special moment. Just the surprise of how funny it was neat in and of itself. But then the fact that was something that carried over to a very neat week in my life with a group of people that are very important to me and still kind of connected in my life to this day. And so for me, I have extreme biases towards the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as the character, specifically Drax the Destroyer. And that's my experience with the movie. If I try and review the movie and tell you something different than that, I'm removing myself and I'm giving an opinion that feels like I'm trying to tell you the opinion of someone other than me. If I talk about that movie, it has to be me talking about it for it to be my opinion on it. And my opinion is saturated with that week in the Navajo Nation, cracking jokes with my interns. And so of course I'm biased. I think most people are biased. Like most people kind of like they have some reason that's driving where they're coming from, or a totally different direction to go with things. I watched the movie Blockers whenever it came out 3 months ago in the theater, and I'd set my channel up to do a review. Like I'd have my template all filled in and kind of my intro with the poster coming out. I'd pulled some clips and the video. Everything was ready to do a review that night because I saw it at a press screening. So I was like, I'll get this one out nice and early. I watched the movie and I thought it was real funny. Like, it definitely made me laugh. But at the core of the movie is it has clear things to say about parenting, teenage drug use, teenage sexuality, and just teenage rebellious behavior in general, and how parents factor into that. And pretty much everything it had to say about those subjects, I firmly disagree with. I think that what the movie teaches is dangerous, reckless, the way it handles sorts of ideas of teenagers are crazy, so let them go crazy. I disagree with that as a parenting technique and as an idea of what's wise. In particular, because of what plays out in the movie, there's like girls behaving or taking drugs, drinking alcohol, and then engaging in sexual activity afterwards, when you say that's not advisable behavior. That everything about that is very unwise behavior. So the movie, to me, while it did make me laugh, I didn't even want to talk about it on my channel because of personal biased reasons, that I find the content of the movie to be something that I do not agree with, I do not approve of. I don't want that message going out there. Even though I find it funny, that's my honest opinion. I don't know what to do with the movie that I find its messaging objectionable, and the fact that it gets preachy about parents not parenting their kids while their kids are actually doing dangerous, rebellious behavior that can actually get them raped, murdered, killed in car accident, like all the things that can actually go wrong. The parents are actually supposed to stop their kids from being engaged in. This movie endorses those behaviors and kind of chastises the parents for being protective of their daughters in that matter. When it seemed like a better message would have been, hey, we should be more protective of our sons too, not just be only protective of daughters. Anyway, but I'm biased. Of course I'm biased. I watched that movie with a worldview. You guys probably know my past if you're on my second channel right now, that I come from very much church world, Christian background. And so I bring that into a movie, and I can laugh at it and still say, I disagree with the worldview that this is teaching. We're all biased. And I think it's all better for all of us if we acknowledge those biases as best we can, because we can't acknowledge all of our cognitive biases that are kind of running in the background. The thing that sparked this is I'm listening to a book right now about cognitive biases during my work trip today. And it was just talking about how, like, we have so many things working, shaping our opinions, that we don't acknowledge them so often, or we're not even aware of them. And that made me go, that ties back to so many different movie reviews, and how I review movies is trying to identify those and want to talk about the backstory of how I context of watching the movie and all that fun stuff. So yeah, learn to acknowledge your biases, know what they are, and put them out there. Let people know. And I think as we talk about movies, it's a lot more useful and interesting if I understand where you're coming from and you understand where I'm coming from. So we have to discuss why we feel the way we do. Not just it was good, it was bad, but what's driving me to come to that conclusion. That's a lot more interesting to me. And so, of course I'm biased. Of course you're biased. Let's talk about the biases. This why is so much more interesting to me than what opinions we specifically have. Like, what drove us to these different places that we come to. So anyway, that's just a thought I just wanted to put out there, that yeah, of course I'm biased. Of course I bring stuff into movies. Of course you do. And I don't even know why we would try and hide that, pretend that, or think that's a bad thing. Like, biased review. Maybe I'll ramble about that a little bit too. I get confused by some of those ones where people are like, this guy's biased. Like, do they not know what the word biased means? Because I don't need, like, do biased means I disagree with them? Because that's an incredibly arrogant statement to state that anyone that doesn't agree with you is biased. I have set myself at the center of the universe, that this is the objectively correct answer, my opinion on the movie, and anything other than that, they're the biased ones, not me. So I'm just fascinated by people and the opinions that they have. Probably that's what drives me to do what I'm doing in the way that I do it, using rankings to do a lot of my reviews. It creates a scenario that more easily draws out people's opinions and emotions on things and gets them passionate, because I'm just always curious about people and the way they think about things. So once again, I guess why I would want to talk about my own biases and be curious about your biases, but that's just the way I am. How about you guys? Do you disagree with me? Think I'm right that we're all biased? Do you think that there's a potential to actually watch a movie, experience something, and detach yourself fully objectively and look at it without preconceived notions? Do you think that objectivity is truly possible? I don't think that I do. I think that we all have our brains are so complex that there's no way to fully get outside of all of that and have an objective perspective on things. But that's just my take on it. How about you? Tell me down below. Click that subscribe button, click that like button. Thank you for watching.